welcome back to another Minecraft video. It's the first video in a while. Just a very brief channel update before I begin. Like this video and is the beginning of a trend. I've gotten into technical Minecraft, so I'll be doing a bit more of that than I used to. But hopefully Ark and Survival Minecraft will come to the channel back some this summer as well. We'll just see how my time works out. I'm planning on trying to, though. And yeah, we'll see. So today I have finally, I believe, finished an expandable tunnel bore design that works in 1.15. Went through so many phases. I've using some of the different client-side mods that to have schematics and stuff to save your progress really helps out, because I have made so many different versions of tunnel. Okay. But yeah, here's a few of the key stages in the design process, and then I'm going to show you how to make the final thing. So here is the very beginning. I just was fiddling around a bit, started with some general ideas from other tunnel bores I'd seen, but tried to make my own design. Had to copy the TNT duper design just because from something. I got it from a video by JL. I forget the rest of the numbers, but the guy. But yeah, and he got it from a RaiseWorks video, so I'm not sure where the original designer of the TNT duper is, but rambling. So this thing was very primitive. You had to just update the front of this observer yourself. This was, I think, the first relatively well-working design. I'm not sure, but it would occasionally blow up the front, and then, yeah, that's why I implemented these endstone shields. So this is the first design that would work for relatively extended periods of time. I actually ran this in survival, but it's not expandable because the way it's made, it's kind of jumbled on top of itself, and there's no convenient way of expanding it. But this one was pretty consistent about not blowing itself up, and it was like, I don't think that ever happened. Did occasionally leave a block behind. But it would work pretty well. But if you're trying to use these for mining diamonds, a single wide one isn't that effective. Like, strip mining by hand is probably about as effective, if not more effective, because it doesn't really expose too much space. And you have to wait, for it to move forwards. But it worked pretty well. I got a decent number of diamonds when I used it, just not reasonable for the amount, probably not the best for the amount of time. But just, yeah. So the way the thing works, is like most tunnel bores, where when you activate this, it activates the TNT duper, which shoots the TNT there, and it gets a timing circuit that once the timing circuit finishes, it pushes this forwards, which due to Bud powering this piston, it'll update and bounce the thing up, and then this piston will retract, pulling this forwards and bouncing it forwards, and the trapdoors keep it from going too far up. Then after getting a working single design, I kind of took a little bit of a break because I was tired of spending tons of time on this. Then I came back and spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to extend it. And here is my first extended model. It uses basically the same circuit with just some things moved around at the top, like the TNT duper. One major difference is this part right. Okay, So here is the moving forward system. This piston retracts, pulls that back. The redstone block depowers this piston, which pulls this S forwards, which depowers this piston, simultaneously pulling this S forwards, which depowers this one, simultaneously pulling this one forwards. So all at the same time, the TNT dupers are triggered by these when those things are pulled forwards. So they all shoot forwards at once. Then goes through the same timing circuit. Then right around here, this timing circuit jumps down instead of staying up, so it gets a little bit out of the way or around these TNT dupers. Goes under here, and when it pushes this forwards, it does a similar instant unpowering and pulling forwards to the TNT duper chain, except with these pistons that then push this forwards, like on the single design, and it bounces and pushes and then bounces forwards. So it's pretty straightforward, but as you might have noticed, there's a pretty long line of sticky blocks along the bottom. That's why I needed to redesign this, because that long line of sticky blocks would vary occasionally, but reasonably often, but enough that it was a pain. The floor would not destroy a block like right here, and then it would catch on there, and if too many catch on to the bottom of the thing, it gets to push limit, and the machine stops bouncing and pushing forwards, and then the TNT blows up here, then blows up the whole front part of the machine. But to deal with this issue of occasionally having the bottom catch, I did a major redesign of the system for push that also tried to simplify the system for pushing the stuff forward simultaneously. So here is the major redesign, or the latest, or one of the later versions of it. The first versions took a little bit of effort, but this one actually started working pretty fast once I designed it. I only made a few mistakes, but still I was having issues with either on the ceiling or the floor. With this design, definitely didn't have issues with the floor at this level, because it has one less floor space, but the TNT still explodes at roughly the same height. But the ceiling was having very rare issues where it would catch a block like onto here or on the front of here, and that was rare, but would happen enough, like in the other machine, that it could be a serious issue. So, yeah, let me see. But yeah, this machine uses same basic concepts, but reworked the circuits to be a little bit more straightforwards and spread out, and not scraping the ground as much. Let me see. Oh yeah, and it would probably be good to show the machine in slow motion, just to give a kind of gist of how it works. Should have shown it with the single one, but before I started doing all this, but using carpet mod and a few other client-side mods to make it easier to do stuff. All the mechanics normally work as they should, unless you specifically change them. So now I'm in slow-mo, so what was that for? It shoots the TNT forwards. Pushes all those forwards, bounces up, and pushes forwards. Oops. There we go. But this design would still have issues with the ceiling, as I said. I tried shortening the trapdoors, and that helped a little bit maybe, but didn't really fix it. So, at one point, I attempted putting the trapdoors on the upper half of the block, because that, in theory, could possibly help, but that very quickly deteriorated, because putting the trapdoors up like this is too high. The TNT would explode too high, and very quickly I had floor issues because of that. So we moved on to this. I was like, we needed a little bit higher, and what is kind of like a trapdoor, but in that it can be in the upper half of the block, but is a little bit larger collision box, and I ended up with slabs. So here's the exact same thing, basically, but with some slight fixes to other things, but with slabs instead of the trapdoors. Oh, and I need to turn off the schematic placement or it'll look weird. And this is the final design, which I'll be showing how to build in the later part of this video. Let me give a brief demonstration of it mining for a quicker bit. Let me see. Layer. Just gonna get a fake player in here. Yeah, this is another feature of Carpet Mod, that you can have a fake player. So I'm gonna set the player to do the use button every 5 seconds, or no, every 4.5 seconds, I think, or 100 ticks. And then here's the thing in practice. But as you can see, digs tunnels relatively well, and to give a little bit of evidence for how well it digs tunnels, I have been testing it in this world. One major thing of note is that these things are not completely gravel or water or liquid, and definitely not liquid proof. So if a very large gravel deposit shows up right in front of it, you may need to stop, and mine some of it manually. These are not machines that are safe to run extended periods of time through unchecked normal terrain, and water will very quickly, and lava will very quickly cause troubles if they are up in the area that it's passing through. If the lava or water's down in the ground level, it's not an issue, but anywhere above that is a major problem. But yeah, I ran it down this tunnel with tick warp, which accelerates the game time very quickly, and was able to get it to go very far without any issues. So let's get up and do the tutorial, shall we? Well, first, materials list, I guess, would be best to have. Schematic placements. Material list. So here is a list of materials from the Lightmatic schematic for the design that I came up with. Of course, if you're expanding it beyond what I did, which I would suggest if you're using it for diamond mining or something like that, you will need more, but here's the materials for the 3 duper wide variant. And let me go ahead and do a tutorial. So you'll want to, in wherever underground place you are, you will want to go so have some clearance in front of the machine, like maybe 7 or 8 blocks in front of the very front of the machine. So you could probably safely build the but of course I'm starting not at the very front, so you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just to be safe, 6 blocks above. I mean, could go, for simplicity, let's do minimalist. So 5 blocks above the ground. 5th block is a slime, then another slime, then piston underneath, observer to the side, concrete, sticky piston. This is the move Ford's mechanism. Then redstone. Put the gate there. You want to put the gate before you put the observer because you don't want it updating this piston. And actually, you could put the gate after it because you don't actually want the piston there yet. Okay, so then you put normal piston here, sticky piston here, observer there. Then for the first duper, because on this side of the machine, or the main engine part of the machine, it's a little bit different from the extensions. So you want to get the duper can be done pretty early in all of the designs. So I use the saved hotbars to make it easier and creative to make these things. But so, and also any dead coral fan should work. It just has to be placed in the way that it is. So you push that forwards to get the duper created. You have to do the duper as I did, or very similarly, because it can't be just built in place or the TNT will update and explode. And then you do 2 slime blocks, then sticky piston, observer, and this is the first of 5 extensions backwards. So number 2, number 3, number 4, and then number 5. And these have to be sticky pistons. Then 1, 2, 3, 4 slime blocks, then 1 over. Then a normal piston facing forwards with an observer there. And then we're going to have 3 extensions this way. Just like, but with normal pistons and observers, and normal pistons and a space between, instead of like on the other direction. Once we've got 3 extensions here, the 4th will be down 3. And then you put observer piston. Then we're going to do 2 down here, as like we were doing up above. And then we're going to do 1 flatter design like that. Then for the bouncing machine or mechanism, we're going to need to quickly get some end stone. So end stone there. Observer. Sticky piston. Make sure this is a sticky piston and this is a sticky piston. Slime, or honey. For honey, these have to be honey. There are a few times in this build where things can be switched out, but to be on the safe side, don't. Unless you absolutely are sure that you're not going to cause an issue by switching honey or slime. And then for slabs, top half of the block. Here probably could be a full block, but I just choose to make it like this. Looks better. Then redstone block there, and let me verify that this is as it should be. Oh yes, and after the duper you could have gone ahead and put that, after you've assembled the duper you can go ahead and put that piston there, and then a slime block underneath it. Definitely want that. And I think this is everything, so let's just test that. Yep, that is a working engine module. So if you wanted a 1 wide, this is where you would stop. So now if you want to make it 2 wide, here's the first extension design, and that pattern is relatively simple to extend further, but I'll do another extension just because extending from an extension will look slightly different than extending from the engine. So here you put this, and this is the kind of instant depowering chain. So when this gets pulled forwards, this redstone immediately depowers the piston, which immediately depowers the next piston down or sticky piston, because as soon as the blocks start moving, they stop giving power. Or start moving, they stop giving power. So then when it has finished retracting, you want it to be the piston to be pushed forward. So have that there, and this observer to power that piston when it's moved. Then you do not need this until you make the next extension. Now for another duper. So there's then another duper assembled, and now for the next extension. Because you don't want to have to rebuild the timing circuit every time, so we just take the signal right at the end of the timing circuit, or nearly at the end of it, with another one of those instant lines, or instant in that they all go off at the same time. They do take time, I believe, to go off, more than a game tick to go off. I'd have to verify that though. So making the front part again. Sticky piston for honey. A little catch to get the slime. That has to be slime because you want it to bounce forwards, not stick to the thing that tries to bounce it forwards. So I think that's almost done. We need to just make the mechanism to push this piston forwards. So you have to put honey here. Slime will stick to the duper, which is already at like max blocks. So you don't want that. And then observer there. And I believe that is the second extension done. So yep. Everything looks like it is where it should be. So then to extend from an extension, it's basically the same. Slightly, I mean, the place where you're putting it looks slightly different, but it isn't exactly the same relative position. So you put redstone blocks there. Build the duper again, but I guess first, for remembering's sake, make the moving of that system for that piston. Then duper. Yeah. The nice thing about tunnel bores is if you have the general idea down, they're not actually that challenging to do once you have some general slimestone knowledge. The main issue is remembering, like, to be careful that you're not accidentally sticking to something you don't want to stick to, or like careless errors combined with timing is the main, and TNT height were the main things that made it take a very long time to design. So now for the extension on the bottom part, I believe. Yep. So just like last time, just do this. Nice thing about honey is since it's transparent, it does not cause the wall to reshape. And it's not a full block, it doesn't cause the wall to reshape, so we don't have it updating the TNT and causing issues. And you want the last slime aligned with the cobble wall right here when you're doing this forward part. Just a way of that's helped me remember when to stop doing slime and put the observer. So sticky piston and stone, observer, sticky piston, 1, 2, 3, 4, back up, slime, then 4 slabs, and your redstone block. And I believe that should be about done. And yep, looks like that is it. So as you can see, the extensions, you can just continue extending here and here as with the previous one. So hopefully this was useful, and I'm soon going to be testing this out in my own survival and see how well this works. One challenge is when you make a very large dark cavern, you often will want to have a mob switch or something of that sort to keep it from having tons of mobs in the room that you're hollowing out. So I'm actually working on that, and I might have some mob switch related videos later, we'll see. But for now, hope you enjoyed and hope this was useful.